Okay.
Yeah. Okay, here it goes. Thank you. So welcome everyone to the November-December Focus on Montana FCS FCCLA webinar. Tracy and I are co-hosting this, and we will for the rest of the school year. And these also not only are recorded, but our data specialist person, our IT or our media guy actually recorded these and moved these over to a YouTube platform because I was informed that some of you were having trouble watching them. So I talked to him and he said, well, send them to me and we'll put them in a YouTube form. And so I'll show you or talk about where those are located. So you'll be able to watch the archive versions. Our agenda today is looking at our calendar and seeing if there's anything that's updated. There are some things I wanted to mention to you, and that is to remind you that the course codes and descriptions and national standards are all available for you. We're going to go in a little bit more detail about that and some other supports that are related. And then Sharon Davis with the Home Baking Association, I asked her if she could be a part today and she couldn't, but I am going to show you her website and suggest that you, if you're looking for new things just to end the semester, she's got some great December lesson plans and recipes you could use in your classroom. So I wanted to make sure I shared that. And then Tracy will end our day with some things happening in Montana FCCLA. And I linked there to the slides for her part of the presentation. So wanted to make sure you knew that. As always, if you have topics you want addressed in the next webinar, put it in the chat or send me an email, either FCCLA or FCS. I'm assuming, Tracy, that would be okay to do. So then we can just add those in our section because we want these to be usable for all of you. The calendar, I've taken off everything to this point because it's all finished and it's just the 2023 calendar now with the links. I know Tracy's going to talk about a few things that is listed on here as well, but I did want you to note that January 25th is the webinar that will start off the new year. There's the link. It's already been established. And then you can see some of the other things that are happening down through April in this slide and then down through July on the next one. I do want to mention I'm working with Flathead Valley Community College to revisit the industry immersion that they did with culinary last summer. And they've written a grant to do it again. And we still don't have the dates finalized, but it's looking like it's going to be toward the first part of June, because once you get mid-June and later, we have the OPI Institute and we have the summer FCS Institute. And then we run into AAFCS and then people leaving for National FCCLA. So it's going to be toward the beginning of that month, but we don't have the dates final yet. I did want to mention that April 19th is the spring version of what I did in September. We called it an FCS symposium. I've kind of changed the name up. I'm calling it an FCS drive-in because I'm driving in and you're driving in. And so the pre-conference of the MAFCS conference in Whitefish will be the eastern side of the state. I'm working on the western side of the state as well, but we're going to actually be working on the framework, which we started to have a conversation last fall about. So we'll take that information. There's also some work that was done in previous to this school year and looking at some resources, looking at program samples to review. And these are the areas that we'll work on. I'll have a bunch of information in packets. And as you said, either as middle level or secondary, I think we'll be able to just go through and say, yes, that's the way it is. That's the way it should be in Montana. And it's not going to be, we have to create things from scratch. So I'm hoping we'll be able to move through this at a decent amount of space and speed and work together. And then this summer, we'll revisit it at the Summer FCS Institute and be able to hopefully roll it out in the fall. It's not going to be completely fleshed out, but at least it'll be a beginning to have a framework for all of our programs. It's pretty exciting. In the middle level in particular, we have some national level work going to establish nationally recognized standards for middle level. And I've asked if I could be a part of that work. So we were able to, in Montana, be able to be one of the first states to see that and be able to align some of our work. So this is just talking about the spring and the planning that you need to do for your school work. Just as an example, make sure you refer to your pathways, looking at the SCED codes, the 5-digit codes. Those are the codes that your courses should be linked with as you do your planning for the next school year. Realize to have an approved pathway, you'll need to have 1 full credit at each level offered. You can have more than that, but not less than that. Any course you think you might teach next year, go ahead and include it. Then it's sitting there for you to use. You will be able to add courses in the fall, but you will not be able to add spring courses once the fall semester is over. So this particular year, all the courses that you wanted to offer had to have been done earlier this fall. We can't add any more for the spring. So it's better to just put it all in there that you think you might teach both levels, making sure you have at least 1 credit at each, and then you have it sitting there if you need it the next year. And I do want you to know that Perkins goals is that students will become concentrators. That's some of the data points we report. And since FCS is part of Perkins and we get that funding, these goals become our goals too, to try to encourage students to have 2 full credits, and one of those credits or one of those courses that could be a half a credit needs to be, if at all possible, work-based learning course. And I've circled, there's 3 in this particular pathway. You have options for the human services. And I did want to mention that the Family Consumer Sciences Workplace Experience course in particular, it's 19298, is found in all 4 pathways. So if you are a 1 teacher or a very a program that is very much teaching lots of preps, you might look at that one being the one you add. Then your students can come in from all 4 pathways and you build and allow the experience that was based on the pathway they came in from, rather than having each pathway have its own work-based learning. So I just wanted to remind you about that. The other thing I wanted to remind you, this happens to be slide 13, so you might want to note that. This is where you find the K-12 course codes. I've got in highlight each of the different steps in yellow that you go through once you get to the OPI website. And then once you find the K-12 course codes and you click on it, then it'll open what you see on the right-hand side where this green arrow points is the course codes. So you'll be able to know which course codes really align to the courses that you're teaching. Oh, and scroll from the bottom up. So it'll look like this, but make sure you scroll from the bottom up because these are all the codes all the classes use in your school. CTE is toward the end. So if you scroll from the bottom up, it'll be a lot quicker than if you go from the top down. Oh, the Google site. I'm so excited. I have a website that I've drafted, that I've started. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail right now because I don't want to take time away from FCCLA, but if we have time at the end, I'm going to pull it up. It actually is a website that I'm hoping will be very usable. This is what the opening page looks like. It's a landing page. It has some statistics on this year, how many programs we have. I didn't add how many chapters because we're still in the process of building that. So this is based on last year. So Tracy, you and I can get together and add some details. If we want to go from last year, that's perfectly fine. And then a general definition of what is FCS in Montana, as well as a short video. And this is FCS. It's like 2 minutes long. But anyway, this is just a landing page. The other pages, as you notice at the top, there's a link to the calendar. So if you go to this website, you won't have to try to go back into the pathways. You'll be able to find it that way. I have a link to the pathways themselves. You can go right into there. There's a link in that particular page that'll take you right to the course code description, so you don't have to hunt all over for those. I have talked to, there's also a resource page, which I didn't mention on this particular slide. I'm hoping that FCCLA, the MAFCS and the MTFCSE will have links. It wouldn't necessarily mean there's separate information, but it'd be a link you can click on and you can go right to those websites so that you don't have to look all over and have a bunch of bookmarks. You can just bookmark this one and go to it and be able to locate information there. As far as the pathway resources, I did want to talk about the Home Baking Association. Please write this down and go. Go to it. You would not believe all the resources you can find there. There's a whole section on just December baking, and I have the link under Sharon's name. Her email is to the right-hand side there, but there's all sorts of things. They're tried and true recipes. They've already prepped and written the guidelines for a FCS classroom. You don't have to do any of that work. They've already done that. They've separated out into several days if it needs to have several days worth of work. And it's just really exciting to see everything that Sharon's done. She is a licensed family consumer science teacher, and so she understands how we need it for the classroom without having a lot of extra effort. And so this is part of the reference page or the resource page in the Google site. So with that, I've already made the screen multiple share. We're ready to do the FCCLA ProStart update. I think according to my watch, I'm about a minute later than what I told Tracy that we would have. So I'm going to stop my presentation at this point and let her take over. If you have any questions for me, just put them in the chat and I'll try to answer them in the chat. And then we will move forward with our FCCLA component. So take it away, Tracy.
Thanks, Gayla. Can you guys see my screen all right? Everybody good? All right. Fair disclosure, you should probably know that if you post pictures of your students on social media, I will steal them for these updates every chance I get. There's some great things happening. If you're not already on the FCCLA advisors page for Montana or the Montana FCCLA page, you might want to check those out. So thanks everybody for letting me steal some pictures. You'll see some more of those throughout. One of the first things I wanted to just bring back into focus, if anybody might, still be kicking around, they don't really know how to affiliate, or maybe they haven't gotten started yet. We have some really great affiliation packages available this year for Montana. Depending on the size of your chapter, take a real close look at this little flyer. It's also on the website. I think I've sent it to you in an email. So you have these three options: the traditional affiliation. If you have probably, less than 25 chapter members, you want to take a good look at that one. I really like these last two though, because they come with a lot of extra bonus things that your chapter wouldn't get if they just chose the traditional affiliation. Not to mention that you can use some Perkins money to help with that. And speaking of affiliation, I have asked a couple of the pros to join us here today and share some of their tips. So Kim Conan and Adele Stenson have graciously agreed to help chat a little bit about some of their tips and tricks to getting students affiliated quickly. And we didn't talk about who was going to go first, and we didn't arm wrestle or anything like that, ladies. Who would like to start with maybe some words of advice for someone who might be struggling with affiliation, or just what is really working for you? Kim, we'll let you go first. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi everyone, how you doing? So I affiliated 72 kids this year. And I've got more that are wanting to affiliate, so I'm working on that. One thing, and just in our school, some of the other clubs, like we didn't have Key Club last year. We don't have a HOSA program anymore. Our Letterman's Club is kind of non-existent. And so FCCLA has kind of become the big hit with, as well as FFA in Dillon. And I just really promote a lot of, community service within our community. And that really, reaches out to the kids, not to mention the fact that nowadays, community service is something that they put on their resume and they put it on college applications. Also, a big thing I do is feed the kids every time we have a meeting. Food always brings kids to the meetings. Like today I had a committee meeting and I made chili and hot dogs, and last week I made pasta bake, and I don't always make the food, but I find it cheaper to make a good home cooked meal than to buy pizza from our local pizza place. And I just really encourage the kids to get involved and do stuff for their fellow classmates. So like Thanksgiving food baskets, and that was all for families in our high school. And then we do like the giving tree, which is local in Dillon, and we always pick like 10 tags off the tree, and the kids voted this year to do $100 for each kid, so that's $1,000. We do some fundraisers to help support some of those things, like selling Martinson's candy, selling hot chocolate at the football games. And we always put up signs, all the proceeds will go towards Thanksgiving food baskets and the giving tree. And, community people are happy to do that. So those are some of my tips that I have.
That sounds great. Thanks, Kim. Adele, what did you want to share about your success strategies?
Kind of a lot of the same things as Kim. We're a really, really small school. We have 38 kids in the high school, and I think 50 some in junior high and high school. But I did kind of a different thing this year. I have 26 kids who are active FCCLA, like doing things outside of class. But I signed up my kids with the traditional affiliation, but I asked my high school kids, anybody that was in my FCS classes, if they would go ahead and sign up for FCCLA, and I would pay their dues. And so I paid their dues out of my CTE funds, and it allowed me to help build our Montana FCCLA stats a little bit from our little school. And for me, it was cheaper than doing the group affiliation package, because I didn't need the extra things that came with it. And I already use all my Perkins money to go to nationals. So that was a good fit for me. So my junior high kids pay half of their dues, and I pay the other half out of the chapter. And then the high school kids, I paid all of theirs out of CTE funds. And I think it's a good investment. And I do a lot of FCCLA in my class, so it works out all right. And then as far as like trying to draw kids in and keep kids in, I 100% agree with Kim. Food is a great thing. Our first recruitment meeting every fall is an ice cream social. And then I have taken some tips from the Empowered Entrepreneurship Program. And when my kids are keeping track of their service hours, they get points, and those points then become little dollar tokens. And we have an auction at the end of the year. Last year, it took us like 3 or 4 homerooms to get through it all. So we'll do some throughout the year. But the kids think that's really fun. And it's just a little added incentive. And they have to earn so many points to get to go to state. First year and last year members don't have to compete to go to state, because I think I've found that the kids that go to state are more likely to stay in than if they don't. And it's just pretty intimidating for a lot of those 7th graders to compete when they've never even been to the event. So I let them go their first year without competing. They have to help with events. And then after that, they have to compete to go unless they're a senior. And honestly, that's because I don't like to take seniors to nationals, because there's not really a lot that is applicable to them. So that's kind of my take on it. And like Kim, we focus really strong on community service, and the kids really like it. A lot of kids who don't think they like service find out that it can be a lot of fun and be really rewarding. And then it also helps in our community. We're really lucky because the newspaper will put in about anything we send to them. And so then their parents know what it is, and the grandparents know what it is. And when they fundraise, it's just a lot easier. So I don't have any magic things, but that's kind of what we've been doing. So.
Those are all great ideas, you guys. Thanks for sharing with us today. And I think you're right. A lot of times students maybe don't realize how much they're going to enjoy service. And I bet they also don't realize a lot of the workplace skills they're picking up just anytime they have to work together with other people. You guys have all seen that in action. The more experience they get with that sort of thing, the better for them and everybody involved. Thanks again for sharing, you guys. I didn't ask them, but I bet if you have any questions after hearing them share their ideas, they would be happy to answer those. Oh my goodness, my screen just went crazy on me. Here we go. So I was trying to get to my next slide, which is just a quick reminder about the Vision Zero grants. The official deadline for those applications is this Friday. All of the information is on the Montana FCCLA website, but I'm happy to help you if you have some questions. It's a great opportunity for some of those service projects to get students involved. The focus this year is distracted driving. And remember, not only can your chapter earn some money for the project, but then they can also earn some money in cash awards after the project is completed. One more opportunity for service projects and grants is the Youth Service America Day of Service. And they have that scheduled for Martin Luther King Day on January 16th. And so one of the requirements of that project is that one component at least happens on that day. And the focus is to be around the National FCCLA program student body and focusing a bit on mental health and well-being as well. So those $200 grants are available, and that link is also on the Montana FCCLA website. One more quick reminder. Next week we have culinary educator training in Bozeman at Montana State University. It is free for any Montana culinary teacher. So if you're interested in ProStart, if you're already signed up for ProStart, if you teach culinary but you're not doing ProStart, it's still going to be a great training for anybody who would like to attend. We have included registration, lunch, and parking. And we will also be hearing from some experienced ProStart teachers, the ProStart staff, and Chef Tori McPhail is our speaker. While we're on the topic of ProStart and competitions and STAR events, mark your calendars, the 16th and the 17th of March. We will be holding our state competitions. ProStart is scheduled for the 16th and FCCLA STAR events for the 17th. We also have skill demonstrations as well with FCCLA on the 17th. I'd like to encourage any advisor who still might be in touch with some recent graduates and FCCLA alumni to consider sending them our way, because we probably will never have too many volunteers to pull off this competition. So if you have some people that you still are in touch with who have a little bit of experience with STAR events, that always helps, or with culinary events, either one of those. Parents are great volunteers. Anybody who's interested and has a positive attitude, we are happy to sign them up. So help us spread the word on that. Speaking of upcoming events, there's a Rotunda Day scheduled February 6th, where we want to reinforce the presence of career and technical education at the Capitol. We also, again, have the state conference and the ProStart State Invitational on the screen. More details are coming soon on those. And we also have more details coming soon on the competitive events in general. I would look for those in the next week or so. And I have a webinar planned, I believe January 5th, to kind of review some of the competitive events to help everybody get ready to roll on that. If you haven't been following us on social media, there's just a short list of some of the ways you could stay up to date with what's going on in Montana FCCLA. And I think that is all I have, Gayla.
Okay, wonderful. The 5th, if you're able to share that, I'll add it to the calendar.
Yes, ma'am.
And then also, if you send it out, let me know. I'll send it out to the more general email as well. I think we might have the same email list actually, but
Okay.
Anyway, awesome. That'll be great to be able to go through. Also, those of you who haven't done a lot of STAR events, I don't know how old they are, but if you just go to YouTube and Google FCCLA STAR events, and sometimes the STAR event name sometimes you'll have some presentations that chapter advisors have recorded in other states. So you might be able to see how those went. I'm not saying that they're great examples, but there are examples, because I used to do that all the time. At first, when I did it, there would be like 2 show up, and then there was like 15 show up, and I haven't done it in a few years. So I can't imagine what comes up. But thank you for everything that you're doing for us, and it's so exciting, everything that's available through FCCLA. We do have a little bit of time, so if you guys are cool with that, I'd like to go to the Google site. Would you guys be okay with that? Yeah, okay.
Can I ask a quick question while you pull that up?
Sure.
Did I hear Jenny asking about a culinary arts menu? Is the culinary arts event, was that what it was talking about? Are we doing that at state this year? Like the FCCLA one?
We are not doing that specific event. Our plan is to hold the Pro Start competition and funnel the FCCLA culinary competition through that. The competition she was asking about, I think, was culinary in general, but my answer there was we have the baking and pastry event, the skill demonstration events. That culinary arts one is the only one we're just going to go ahead and replace with the Pro Start competition, just to try to make the most of the resources that we have.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sure that'll be revisited also after we get a year under our belt too. So if y'all have any comments about that, I'm sure we're all open to a conversation. Okay, so on your screen, do you see something that says welcome to Montana FCS Network? Okay, so what I've done is taken you to my side of what this site will look like. One of the things that I had done earlier is I had a screenshot of this first page, which is very general. It's very simple, but it's just kind of introducing who we are. It's a little too much script for me, so I'll probably be doing some editing, but we're highlighting some things, making some colors, change some colors so it's a little bit more attractive. And then we have the link at the bottom for the little video that actually came from one of the resources. And then the access to the OPI FCS webpage is linked right here at the very bottom. So be able to go to those things through this level. I also have to access Montana FCCLA website as a link here. And Tracy and I really haven't had time to kind of work together on how this might be able to provide you an entry into her side of things. So watch for more as we move through this. At the top, you have the home button, obviously that will bring you back to this page. Then we have the calendar, the pathways and resources. So I'm going to go into those quickly. Just want to make sure that we are still recording. Yes, okay, because I didn't see my record button. So clicking on the calendar page, here is the calendar. It's the one that I've had in the webinars with all the updates that we would have. They would be in both places. So you don't have to find the webinar to look up the calendar. You would have this here. I've also been asked if I could put some OPI deadlines and things on there for those of you that happen to be working as a CTE coordinator. So I will be working to add those. I think I might do them as, it may even be a separate link at the bottom rather than be all together in the same calendar, just for communication or to decrease confusion, but that has yet to be determined. There's also future FCCLA National Leadership Conferences that I have listed here. Because the one in 2023 obviously is in our particular calendar. But I also know that there's some national ACTE and AAFCS meetings that I'll be adding to this as well. But I just wanted you to see that the calendar is right here with all the links for you to go to those sites to find more information. Under FCS pathways, it lists what our pathways are. There is a link to each of the pathway documents, so you can access them through this. Each of these goes right to the pathway itself. The course code descriptions, here's the link for that. Then there's some national resources to help Some of them have infographics and things you can just print off and use if you want to share with someone more about a particular program of study. Lead FCS Education, which is linked here, will go to the image that you see on the right-hand side. And every place there is a plus sign will send you to an infographic that's about that particular area. We also have the information from FCCLA that shows how it is aligned with the career pathways. And one of the pages that will also be linked here is to the crosswalks for the pathways to the STAR events and the national programs and things, because that's actually found in a different document. So all of that will be on the same page. The last one is resources, and I just really started to build this not too long ago, so it's not complete at all, but at least you'll get an idea. The general FCS program resources, you have the webinars, and this particular link under webinars will take you to the YouTube channel that'll have all of our webinars, and I can continue to add as the school year goes on. So you'll be able to access those. I've tried to also put some bullet points of what is covered in those particular webinars. And each webinar that I've had, I tried to do some type of a resource. Sometimes we've had a guest speaker. This time I didn't, and Tracy did, which was perfectly fine because we're trying to balance your time with our hour that we have. But I'll be listing each of the webinars individually by the month in which they were presented and then who was interviewed at that time. So if you want to go back and learn more about Texas Tech Curriculum Center, then you can go to that webinar and watch it and learn more from the actual people that were from the Texas Tech area. The recruitment and retention of FCS educators. This particular link has lots of things. This is where the short video on our opening page came from. But also there's other marketing items and posters and postcards and different things you can download and print. There's a US map on where all the FCS education programs are in the United States. If you have students that are looking to go to a particular place or want to go to college and they don't know if FCS has programs, this can share that with you, as well as yourself. If you're working on and want to have a post-secondary degree like master's, or if you want to work PhD, or if you're an alternative certified teacher and you just need some classes, there's a post-secondary online FCS courses library. So you can see who's offering what across the United States that might fit a need that you have. There's podcasts that are really, really good, lesson plans, and then some Say Yes to FCS files are located there. The quality FCS programs on the very right really come from ACTE. They've done a lot of research on what 12 elements there are in creating high quality CTE programs. And so the more general one is listed there with the link. There's standards, and then there's also a link to a self-assessment checklist. So you can see some things that you might have that you might consider improving upon, or just to get a kind of an idea what you need to do for professional development. That might share some information. And then when I did a little bit more research on ACTE, they actually did a webinar on family consumer science programs. It's part of the podcast series that's found on the recruitment and retention website, but I pulled it out and linked it here so you'd be able to watch it if you wanted to. These will continually to be expanded as I find more things and you send me resources and things I'll be able to share. Teacher preparation resources. Here's a link to the National FCS Standards. We have the Texas Tech FCS Curriculum Center. There are some free things, some course syllabuses. I believe there's a couple things for middle level that are free, and then some assessment rubrics which you're able to adapt. I think there's something like 100 of them there, so you don't have to come up with a rubric. Just go there and adapt it. And then the KCCTE course library, it's unique. It's the only one that I know of in the nation, but it's at Pittsburgh State University in Pittsburgh, Kansas. It's all free course syllabuses. I know some of you have utilized some of their information just as a place to start in your course planning. But they have the syllabus for a whole course, all the lesson plans, the assessments, the rubrics, everything that go with those. So if you have a new class that you're going to be teaching, that might be a place that you want to explore. And all of these places are websites or resources or speakers that we've had in a previous webinar. So those can be linked. And then I have the Home Baking Association here. And I know there's many more classroom resources to add to this particular page. So, so again, you can just go to this Google site. It's like a web page. You'll be able to click on the different areas at the top of the screen. I'll go back to the home page and go to the calendar, the pathways, resources. Again, hoping that we'll have one that's professional development, and that will go to the MA FCS and the MT FCSE websites, as well as ACTE and AAFCS. And then Tracy and I'll work on the FCCLA component and see if we want that separate or we want it integrated around across everything. But that'll be something she and I can work on. So we just have a few minutes. What do you think? Think it'll be helpful? Is there anything in particular that you want to ensure that I add to this? It would be helpful for you so you don't have to search for things. I haven't thought about. Nothing.
Sorry if I missed it because I have noise in the background, but did you say you're gonna do, or could you do a page for like each of the professional organizations? So MAFCS, they always talk about having their website. Nobody ever does it.
Yeah, no, that's my plan, is to at the very
So-
minimum have a link to go to their webpage or
Well,
build one for them if they
yeah.
need. Yeah.
I mean, there was one, but it often doesn't get updated. And I know the MAFCSE board tends to have the same conversation. And so I just thought if you could add another page in there and just have it in there for them, it would probably get done versus them linking to something that we talk about and never do.
Right. Well, and I think across the top, or if we go to, if I have a professional development tab and it opens up, then we can have some links to different pages and things under that. So anyway, we can definitely add that. And that was my plan, to reach out, just have it. They are not, they're open for some conversation, but I think I just need to show them what I'm talking about, and we'll move from there. I think it'll be very helpful to have things so it's easier for someone who, especially newbies that come on board, that they just know they go to this one place. And then as we find things or we build things, there's no reason why we can't have our own resources that we have people upload. Lesson plans, we could create our own lesson plan library. There's just a lot of things to build from this, but I hope you find that it's beneficial. I've been working on it off and on all fall as I've learned more about Google, because I'm completely a Microsoft Office person by training. So this has been, I felt like a freshman in high school, trying to figure it all out and calling people, I don't know how to do this. But anyway, so I'm hoping that it'll be something that you'll find beneficial as well. So thank you for letting me take some time to do that. Okay. Do you see the FCCLA update slide? Okay. Probably not going to let me do what I know I need to do. So the only other slides that I had left was just a closing slide from Tracy and I with our contact information, which I know some of you that are on here have already, you already have that for reference, but we're very excited to work together again. It's interesting how life puts you in the same space with people over and over and over again. And it just means that I think that we're just meant to be working together here in Montana. So it's pretty cool. Thank you all again for taking time out of your day. Wish you very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And with that, I'm going to let Tracy, if she has anything that she'd like to share as well, or anybody else, and then we'll call our webinar as completed.
Thanks for coming, everybody. It was good to see all of you again.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you in January.